crack it wide open when the time is right. Whispers in the dark, voices in the dawn. Welcome to the chaos, Babylon. Babbling on in Babylon. The stories keep rolling, the beat goes on. From shadows deep to the break of dawn, we keep babbling, babbling on. Yeah, until the memories, timelines torn. Shadow people lurking since the day you were born. Signs of the end or a trick of the game. Either way, we're babbling and breaking the chains. Prophets smoke fire, the echoes still call. But who's really listening behind the wall? So we watch and pray, keep the light turned strong. Babbling on in Babylon. Secrets, lies, and midnight songs. Truth is tangled, but we carry on. Mystery meets the rebel sound. Babylon's where the truth is found. Babbling on in Babylon. The stories keep rolling, the beat goes on. From shadows deep to the break of dawn, we keep babbling, babbling on. Flip the page, ancient words on the mic. Conspiracies, prophecies, ride through the night. From heart to the heavens, the signs in the sky. Asking the questions they don't want you to try. Truth ain't clean, it's a puzzle and a fight. But we crack it wide open when the time is right. Whispers in the dark, voices in the dawn. Welcome to the chaos, Babylon strong. Mad little memories, timelines torn. Shadow people lurking since the day you were born. Signs of the end or a trick of the game. Either way, we're babbling and breaking the chains. Prophets smoke fire, the echoes still call. But who's really listening behind the wall? So we watch and pray, keep the light turned strong. Babbling on in Babylon. Babbling on in Babylon. The stories keep rolling, the beat goes on. From shadows deep to the break of dawn, we keep babbling, babbling on.
This program is made possible by financial support from viewers like you.
She couldn't stop babbling about
Babylon! Babbling, bumbling band of baboons.
Don't miss a minute, don't miss a beat. Babbling on in Babylon can't be beat.
This is Babbling On in Babylon, brought to you by Bible and a Bicycle on YouTube.
On September 10th, 2025, the American political landscape was rocked by the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the co-founder and president of Turning Point USA. What follows is not speculation nor partisan interpretation, but a careful recounting of the facts as they have been reported, verified, and confirmed by multiple credible outlets in the days since. Utah Valley University, located in Orem, Utah, was the site of one of the major stops on Charlie Kirk's American Comeback Tour. The event had been heavily promoted and was expected to draw thousands of attendees. By the time Kirk took the stage, estimates suggested about 3,000 people were gathered outdoors, listening to him speak on topics central to his activism: cultural politics, higher education, and the future of conservative youth organizing. Kirk was no stranger to controversy, often sparking strong reactions from both his supporters and his opponents. Still, no one in attendance could have predicted the violence about to unfold. As Kirk spoke, a rifle shot rang out. The bullet struck him in the neck, fired from a rooftop vantage point overlooking the outdoor event. Reports indicate that the weapon was fired from some distance away and that the shooter had placed himself in a position where he could target the speaker's platform directly. Panic ensued as the crowd realized what had happened. Witnesses described a scene of shock, screaming, and rapid evacuation as security and emergency responders rushed to Kirk's side. Despite immediate medical attention, Charlie Kirk succumbed to his injuries. His death was later confirmed by authorities. Attention turned quickly to identifying the assailant. Within hours, police and federal investigators had sealed off the area and began collecting evidence. The rooftop where the shot originated was carefully examined, and multiple items were recovered. Most notably, the rifle used in the attack, a towel wrapped around the weapon, which bore DNA evidence, a screwdriver, also carrying DNA. These items became critical in tracing the shooter's identity. By September 12th, authorities had arrested a suspect, Tyler James Robinson, a 22-year-old man. He was believed to have acted alone. Robinson was quickly charged with multiple counts, including aggravated murder, felonious discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice. At the time of his arrest, law enforcement emphasized that Robinson was not cooperating with investigators. Officials, including Utah Governor Spencer Cox, confirmed that while Robinson was in custody, questions remained about his motive and his planning. The charges were not speculative. Authorities cited DNA evidence as one of the strongest links. DNA found on the towel wrapped around the rifle matched Robinson. DNA found on the screwdriver, also recovered from the rooftop, matched him as well. This forensic evidence gave prosecutors a solid foundation on which to build their case. The assassination of a prominent activist and political figure naturally drew immediate national attention. Reactions poured in across the political spectrum, from grief and condemnation to debates about political rhetoric and security at public events. However, in the days immediately following, law enforcement and officials urged the public to stay focused on the facts of the case, rather than speculation or online narratives. Despite the arrest and the evidence, several questions are still open as of the recording of this podcast, such as the motive. Why did Robinson target Charlie Kirk? While many assume ideological opposition, no formal motive has been conclusively established in court. Planning. How long had the shooter been preparing, and did he act entirely alone? Security gaps. How was a rooftop position so close to the event left unsecured? Investigations into these questions remain ongoing. The assassination did not occur in a vacuum. It came at a time of heightened political polarization, cultural division, and a growing climate of hostility around public figures. It also arrived on the heels of multiple high-profile acts of violence, including shootings in churches and synagogues, which have already deepened anxieties about security and ideological extremism in America. For Turning Point USA and the conservative movement more broadly, Kirk's death represents a profound loss of leadership. For the nation, it raises unsettling questions about the safety of public political discourse and religious discourse, and the line between heated rhetoric and violent action. While investigations continue, the assassination of Charlie Kirk will likely be remembered not just as the death of a single political activist, but as a watershed moment in American political violence. Dare I say, a turning point, an event that shocked supporters, opponents, and observers alike. The facts are still developing, and further court proceedings will shed more light on the planning, motive, and full story behind the September 10th assassination. But even now, in its earliest aftermath, the event has carved itself into the American political history. Charlie Kirk, just 31 years old, was cut down in front of thousands of supporters on a university campus in the United States of America, while publicly doing what he had done for years, speaking publicly about his vision for America. His death has left an undeniable mark on the national conversation about politics, violence, and the fragility of public life in an age of division. Next, we will pedal into the chaos and controversy surrounding this dark event.
Riding through life with nothing but your faith and a flat tire? Looking holy but not very hip?
Then roll on over to the Bible and a Bicycle merch store, where scripture meets street style and testimony rides in style. That's right, tees, hoodies, mugs, and more designed for kingdom cruisers just like you.
Whether you're coasting through trials or popping a wheelie on the Word, we've got gear that helps you rep your faith without breaking the chain.
You ain't gotta shout your testimony, just wear it. These fits speak louder than a Sunday sermon on two wheels. Bible in the basket, truth on your back, and the joy of the Lord in every pedal stroke.
I wore that Ride Your Bike and Read Your Bible hoodie while cruising downtown, and 3 people stopped me to ask if I was part of a movement. I said, "You better believe it."
Bible and a Bicycle merch may cause spontaneous witnessing, joyful riding, and nods of respect from total strangers.
So whether you're on the grind, the climb, or just coasting in grace, do it in gear that's built for the ride. That's the Bible and a Bicycle merch store, where faith rolls deep and your style never flats out.
Bible and a Bicycle merch. Ride bold, rep truth, look good doing it.
Welcome back to the show, y'all, where the lights shine bright above the star. Everything's but a good time, bro. And we bring in the heat, it's good for the soul. So sit back, enjoy for the ride. Hit this retro vibe, let's take it stride.
When Charlie Kirk was assassinated on September 10th of 2025 at a Utah Valley University, the facts of the tragedy themselves were shocking enough. A public figure gunned down in front of thousands. But just as significant, and in many ways just as chaotic, has been the aftermath in the information space. What follows isn't just the story of a killing, but the story of how it's been reported, misreported, debated, and spun. The killing of Charlie Kirk is a case study in the collision of tragedy, politics, media, and social media, where the truth has to fight for its place among rumors, theories, and partisan battles. One of the first controversies came almost immediately. Who was the shooter? Before authorities identified Tyler Robinson as the suspect, social media lit up with guesses and outright falsehoods. Some posts doxed the wrong person. Others claimed the shooter was tied to political groups ranging from the Democratic Socialist of America to being a registered Republican, even suggesting donations to Donald Trump's campaign. Each of these was eventually debunked. Another major false claim involved the bullets themselves. Some early reports stated that bullet casings recovered from the rooftop had pro-transgender inscriptions or messaging on them. Law enforcement later cast doubt on these claims, and in some cases outright contradicted them, saying such evidence had not been verified. But then, in a crazy turn of events, come to find out, it was absolutely true. There were transgender and furry references, along with Antifa references. This controversy underscores a familiar problem. In the scramble to report first, early information often turns out wrong. But once it's out there, it shapes the narrative, sometimes more strongly than later corrections ever can. The lack of early verified information created fertile ground for conspiracy theories. Some speculated that Kirk's death was not the work of a lone individual at all, but the mark of a professional or international involvement. Whispers about intelligence agencies, even Mossad, quickly circulated online. Others analyzed videos of the rally frame by frame, suggesting hand signals or off-stage gestures tipped off the shooter. These theories grew traction because the ideal of a lone 22-year-old carrying out such an act from a rooftop with an apparent precision seemed unbelievable to many. Whether or not these theories hold water, they reflect how modern tragedies are immediately subject to crowdsourced investigation and reinterpretation. Perhaps the most contentious area of controversy has been how different groups have framed the assassination politically. On the conservative side, many commentators have argued that the attack is the direct result of hostile rhetoric towards conservative figures. They point to media portrayals, campus climates, and progressive activism as contributing to an environment where violence against right-wing speakers feels justified. On the other hand, others warn against turning the tragedy into a political weapon. They argue that violent rhetoric and extremism exist across the spectrum, and that gun excess, mental health crisis, and societal polarization all play bigger roles than partisan blame. The Guardian and Newsweek, for example, carried pieces emphasizing that while condemning violence is universal, using the tragedy to score political points risks entrenching division further. This split highlights one of the most unsettling aspects of the controversy. Even in condemning murder, Americans often can't escape the gravitational pull of partisan framing. Another major controversy revolves around security at the event. Utah Valley University hosted an outdoor gathering with thousands present, and yet the shooter was able to position himself on a rooftop with a rifle. Experts have questioned why more stringent precautions weren't in place. Why no counter-sniper coverage? Why no secured perimeter? Some critics blame Turning Point USA and event organizers, suggesting they underestimated risk given Kirk's profile. Ironically, Charlie Kirk was wearing a bulletproof vest. Others fault campus security or law enforcement for not anticipating a potential sniper scenario. It's a god-awful shame that we have to. Still others counter that with events of this scale, total security is impossible, and hindsight makes failures more obvious than they would have been at the moment. This debate remains unresolved, but it raises urgent questions about how public figures should be protected and whether we are prepared for the reality of targeted violence in such settings. In the digital aftermath, another controversy erupted: the response online. Almost instantly, social media platforms were flooded not just with mourning and shock, but with celebratory posts mocking or even applauding Kirk's death. Videos, memes, and hostile commentaries spread rapidly. This led to a firestorm over how platforms like X, TikTok, and Facebook should handle such content. Some demanded immediate removal of celebratory or violent posts, arguing they amounted to hate speech and incitement. Others raised free speech concerns, saying distasteful or offensive speech is not the same as illegal speech. In several cases, educators, students, or even public officials faced investigations or disciplinary action for their own online remarks about Kirk's killing, sparking further debate over boundaries between private expression, professional responsibilities, and public outrage. The mainstream press was not immune from missteps. Oh Lord, no they weren't. As mentioned, the bullet casing inscription story was one of the biggest corrections. But there were others, mislabeling the suspect's background, unclear or contradictory timelines of the arrest, and conflicting reports about whether the shooter had ideological affiliations. Some of these errors were understandable in the fog of breaking news. But in a polarized environment, each mistake was seized upon as proof of bias or incompetence. For some on the right, early errors were interpreted as deliberate downplaying of ideological motives. For some on the left, corrections were seen as proof of the media that had been too quick to sensationalize. The result is that trust in reporting, already fragile, has taken another hit. The assassination itself was horrifying, but the aftermath revealed a deeper sickness. The degree to which even tragedy is filtered through political lenses. On the right, Kirk's death has been framed as evidence of persecution, the silencing of conservative voices, and the dangers of radical leftist rhetoric. On the left, while the killing has been widely condemned, some have cautioned against weaponizing the tragedy to demonize progressives as a whole. Others emphasize the broader context of America's culture of violence, suggesting that polarization, gun excess, and mental instability are the root causes rather than partisan politics alone. The net result is that instead of bringing Americans together in grief, the assassination has in many ways exposed and widened the divides that were already present. Critical questions remain unresolved, fueling ongoing controversies. Was the shooter driven by ideology, personal grievance, or mental health struggles, or all the above? Investigators have released some evidence, such as messages opposing Kirk, but have stopped short of declaring a clear motive. Conflicting or unverified claims about the suspect's gender, political associations, or community ties continue to swirl online. And who bears the ultimate responsibility for the gaps that allowed a rooftop assassin to target a high-profile speaker in broad daylight? Until these questions are answered, and possibly even after, the controversies will remain. The assassination of Charlie Kirk is a tragedy, but in today's America, tragedy is never just tragedy. It is also a battleground for narratives, for blame, for political capital, and for control of the national story. What this event shows, even more than that evil reigns strong and the callousness of our fellow human beings, is that the facts alone don't settle debates anymore. They're starting points, and often just fuel for more disputes. The controversies around Kirk's assassination reveal not only how divided the country is, but how our information ecosystem has made it nearly impossible for a shared truth to take hold. In the end, the killing of Charlie Kirk was not only the silencing of one man's voice, it was also a mirror held up to a nation at war with itself. A nation that, even in the face of violence, cannot agree on what happened, why it happened, or simply what it means. Coming up, we'll shift gears and take a look at the media coverage, controversies, and contrasting perspectives in the aftermath of the tragedy.
Are you tired of carrying the weight of the world? Do you suffer from chronic hopelessness, persistent guilt, or an unshakable sense that something is missing?
Introducing the Bible, the time-tested, soul-approved solution to the human condition. Not just another book, but a revolutionary life treatment backed by thousands of years of divine research. The Bible works naturally with your heart and mind to reveal your purpose, provide peace, and even reconnect you with your Creator. Side effects may include sudden outbursts of joy, unexplainable hope in dark circumstances, increased compassion and patience, talking to God like He's actually listening. He is. Freedom from fear, guilt, and shame. Radical forgiveness of others and yourself. Occasional moments of, wow, I really needed to hear that. A burning desire to love your neighbor, even if they play the drums at midnight. Not recommended for people who enjoy holding grudges, hate being challenged, or insist on being their own god. Results may vary, but eternal life is guaranteed with regular use. Consult your Creator before starting a Bible regimen. Side effects increase with prayer. The Bible. Ask your soul if it's right for you.
The assassination of Charlie Kirk shocked the nation. Beyond the immediate tragedy, the event has sparked an intense and often polarized media discourse. From right-leaning outlets emphasizing ideological motive, to centrist news services focused on verified facts, to left-leaning commenters exploring structural and societal implications. The coverage of Kirk's death illustrates how a single event can be framed in dramatically different ways, shaping public understanding, opinion, and political discourse. In this segment, we'll explore these contrasting perspectives, the controversies they have fueled, and the broader lessons about media consumption in a divided society. Outlets such as Fox News, Breitbart, The Daily Caller have largely framed the assassination as ideologically motivated, focusing on the risks to conservative figures and the potential involvement of anti-Kirk or leftist networks. Some of the key emphases are ideological motives. Right-leaning reporting frequently presents the attack as a political act, suggesting the suspect's online radicalization and anti-conservative views were central to the crime. Some pieces highlighted purported engravings or inscriptions on ammunition pointing to extremist anti-Kirk sentiment. Commentary often contextualizes the assassination within a narrative of rising hostility towards conservative figures in America, urging political and institutional accountability. Opinion segments and commentary pieces push for stronger protections for public speakers and conservative activists, sometimes linking the incident to a larger pattern of left-wing hostilities. Fox News ran stories emphasizing the alleged radicalization of the suspect and suggested ongoing probes into leftist online groups. Breitbart highlighted the dangers of campus environments for conservative speakers and criticized perceived soft security measures. Critics of this framing argue that emphasizing ideological motive too early resists jumping to conclusions before law enforcement establishes facts. There have also been instances where initial claims about inscriptions on bullets or the suspect's affiliations were later debunked and, in some cases, reestablished as fact, raising questions about the responsibility of outlets in verifying information. By contrast, the Associated Press News, Reuters, ABC, and similar outlets have prioritized verified facts, timelines, and official statements, maintaining a cautious approach. These outlets clearly separate confirmed details, the DNA evidence, arrest of Tyler Robinson, press conferences, from unverified social media claims and rumors. Wire services focus on reconstructing the sequence of events, the shooting from the rooftop, the immediate response, the suspect's arrest, and legal proceedings. Centrist reporting emphasizes transparency when clearly errors occur, such as misreports about the bullet inscriptions and then the reestablishing of the fact of the bullet inscriptions or the suspect's political affiliations. Supposedly, This centrist approach anchors public knowledge and verified evidence, slowing the spread of conspiratorial leaps and providing a baseline for other outlets to follow. Outlets such as the Washington Post, The Guardian, and various opinion pages frame the assassination within broader social, political, and structural context. Their coverage often warns against turning Kirk's death into a martyr narrative and scrutinizes how different factions may exploit the event. Analysts highlight how online platforms amplify rumors, misinformation, and extremist content, shaping perceptions of the incident before official verification. Opinion pieces question whether memorialization and political commentary are being weaponized to advance partisan agendas. Left-leaning commentators emphasize that rushing to assign ideological motivation can oversimplify the complex factors: mental health, social isolation, cultural dynamics that may have influenced a suspect. The Washington Post explored systemic causes, noting the interplay of campus climates, online radicalization, and political rhetoric. The Guardian discussed the dangers of martyrdom narratives and the risk of oversimplifying motive in a highly polarized environment. The key differences in coverage are as such. When it comes to framing of the motive, the right outlets treat ideological motives as central, sometimes hitting at organized left-wing networks. The centrist outlets seem to present law enforcement's restraint and note that motive is not yet legally established. The left-leaning outlets discuss motives, skeptically caution against politicalization, and focus on the risk of narrative exploitation. When it comes to the use of graphic or leaked materials, on the right, some cable pundits and online commentaries replay video screenshots or chat logs, analyzing them for ideological clues. The centrists emphasize verifying authenticity before reporting and usually issue corrections for early errors, playing it safe legally and all. On the left, they tend to focus on social media amplification of unverified claims and the ethics of sharing such material. When it comes to the political response and tone, the right emphasizes victimhood, often linking the assassination to a broader pattern of anti-conservative hostility. Calls for memorialization and political action are frequent, while the left tries to warn against turning Kirk into a martyr. They go on to highlight the dangers of weaponizing the tragedy for political gain. Those that consider themselves centrist maintain a neutral tone, reporting official responses without amplifying partisan rhetoric. The differences in media framing influence public perception in profound ways. Right-leaning coverage may heighten partisan anger and accelerate calls for crackdowns on perceived left-wing threats, while on the left, the analysis shifts attention towards systemic issues, polarization, and the social dynamics that contribute to political violence. The combination of these approaches creates a complex and sometimes contradictory information landscape, where audiences must navigate between factual reporting, opinion, and straight-out misinformation. Areas to pay special attention to would be the motive updates. If prosecutors announce motive or links to organizations, coverage may shift sharply. Corrections and retractions. Early social media claims have produced false assertions. Outlets that clearly mark evolving information are crucial for accuracy. And the political fallout. Expect increasingly partisan interpretations, especially in commentary and opinion, highlighting the divergence between right and left narratives. The media response to Charlie Kirk's assassination provides a vivid illustration of how perspective, ideology, and editorial approach shape coverage of a high-profile, politically sensitive events in the world. While right-leaning outlets emphasize ideological motive and threats to conservative voices, left-leaning commentary situates the event in a broader societal and political context, warning against exploitation and martyrdom narratives. While those who maintain a centrist point of view rely on the wire services to attempt to anchor understanding and verified facts and official statements in an attempt to slow the spread of misinformation. In an age where tragedy is instantly amplified and interpreted through partisan lenses, the Kirk assassination reminds us of the challenges facing audiences today. The necessity of critical thinking, verification, and awareness of media framing, particularly when politics, violence, and ideology intersect. Understanding these dynamics is not just an academic exercise. It is essential for navigating modern news, forming informed opinions, and participating responsibly in civic discourse. And now that we got that out of the way, we're going to veer off into an even darker trail as we discuss the consequences of celebrating the Charlie Kirk assassination.
The world's spinning out, I'm gripping the handlebars tight. Every headline's a hammer, every post is right. School bells, church bells, gunfire in the night. Charlie Kirk streets burning, social feeds ignite. Scrolling through the fire, keyboard warriors scream. Every angle distorted, reality's a meme. They celebrate the fall, posted online for clout, but the noise ain't the point, we ride past the doubt. Knots crumble into oceans, yeah the world's unstable, but God's the constant, hands on the fable. Ephesians 6, it ain't flesh, it's the dark. Keep your eyes on the trail, don't let them hit the mark. Pedal through the chaos, watch the smoke rise. Keep your heart steady, see the truth through the lies. Noise all around, but I hear his call, even when the world's tearing itself apart. Handle by the chaos, grip the truth, don't let go. Pedal through the fire, let the kingdom show. The darkness is raging, but we ride, we ride. Yeshua in the front, we don't crash, we glide. Handle by the chaos, grip the truth, don't let go. Pedal through the fire, let the kingdom show. The darkness is raging, but we ride, we ride. Yeshua in the front, we don't crash, we glide. Tweets like bullets, take down flames in the night. Jobs lost, arrests made, every side's ready to fight. Platforms, scramble bands, and ducks in digital war. But love's the weapon we carry, the path we explore. Galatians 3:28, unity in Messiah. Even when they scream at each other, the kingdom's higher. Romans 12:21, turn evil into good. The climb is steep, but I keep moving, pedal in the hood. Church walls echo, school halls shake. The nation fractures, how much more can it take? Blame left, blame right, blame guns, blame fame. We keep looking sideways while the world burns in flame. But the fight's not with people, it's spiritual, unseen. The enemy's in the dark, not in the feet on the screen. Keep praying, keep writing, keep eyes on the prize. Even when chaos screams, even when the world lies. Pedal through the chaos, watch the smoke rise. Keep your heart steady, see the truth through the lies. Noise all around, but I hear his call, even when the world's tearing itself apart. Handle by the chaos, grip the truth, don't let go. Pedal through the fire, let the kingdom show. The darkness is raging, but we ride, we ride. Yeshua in the front, we don't crash, we glide. Handle by the chaos, grip the truth, don't let go. Pedal through the fire, let the kingdom show. The darkness is raging, but we ride, we ride. Yeshua in the front, we don't crash, we glide. Scream, people bleeding online, but I keep my hands steady, keep my soul alive. The kingdom's the trail, and Messiah leads the ride. No matter how far we better hide.
Welcome back to Babylon and Babylon.
On September 10, 2025, the nation mourned a shocking act of political violence. But in the immediate aftermath, another story emerged. One of the people who responded online and in public with hostility, mockery, or celebration of his death. From social media posts to public displays, these actions triggered a cascade of consequences across workplaces, educational institutions, the military, and digital platforms. We're going to take a real close look at those who engaged in these behaviors, the types of actions taken against them, and the broader implications for social norms, law, and public discourse. One of the clearest patterns following the assassination involved professional repercussions for employees whose posts were judged inappropriate. With the Carolina Panthers, Charlie Kirk, a communications staffer, was fired after posting on social media mocking Kirk's death. Employers cited violations of conduct and social media policies. Over at MSNBC, analysts and contributors, including Matthew Dowd, were removed or terminated after making comments or posting content that was deemed inappropriate during coverage or follow-up. This triggered a cascade of media side dismissals across other networks. Employees at Microsoft, Delta, NASDAQ, Office Depot, airlines, and law firms faced suspensions or firings. Business Insider and Fox Business report that in almost all cases, organizations framed these actions as enforcement of workplace conduct policies. It's not just workplaces, it's at universities as well. Clemson University and others removed or suspended staff for posting content celebrating the killing, citing institutional codes of ethics or conduct. The key takeaway: across professional settings, employers reacted rapidly to any perceived endorsement of violence, signaling a zero-tolerance approach and underscoring how social media activity can have real-world employment consequences. And then we got to talk about the military and government personnel. The response among U.S. military and government employees also reflected seriousness, with formal investigations launched. Major Brian Bentliff, U.S. Army Reserve, also known as Brian Harlow, was suspended after social posts allegedly celebrating Kirk's assassination and threatening other political figures. The Pentagon stated it would track and address personnel found celebrating such acts. It's not just the Army. There's other active reserve personnel. At least one other service member was under review. Official actions varied by branch, but reflected a consistent policy. Such behavior was incompatible with military standards and could trigger administrative or disciplinary penalties. The military's involvement highlights how celebratory acts by personnel in uniform are treated not just as public relations issues, but as potential threats to professional integrity, ethics, and operational trust. And the most upsetting of all would be our educators, those folks that have been entrusted to the well-being and education of our children, our youth. Educators face scrutiny at both state and institutional levels. The Texas Education Agency instructed school districts to investigate teachers posting celebratory content. Local districts, particularly around Laredo, initiated reviews or disciplinary measures. Multiple teachers and at least 2 college professors were placed on leave or suspended, with some later terminated. Institutions cited codes of ethics and conduct violations, balancing disciplinary action against free speech considerations. This category illustrates the tension between the freedom of expression and professional responsibility, particularly in roles that influence young people. Speaking of young people, let's talk about the students and private citizens and the way they reacted. Because beyond employees and educators, students and private citizens also faced legal and social consequences. Texas Tech students were arrested for disorderly conduct and battery after shouting and dancing at a vigil while posting celebratory content. Local and national coverage highlighted the arrest and its political resonance. And there's been at least one arrest in Phoenix involving vandalizing a memorial. While distinct from online speech, these acts emerged in the charged social environment following the assassination. These examples illustrate that celebratory behavior of violence and murder, when crossing into criminal action or public disruption, carries direct legal consequences. Platforms responded to the rapid spread of videos and posts celebrating Kirk's death. TikTok, Discord, Blue Sky, and X engaged in removals, bans, and takedowns of violent footage or content celebrating the assassination. Platforms prioritized preventing re-uploads and disseminating of celebratory content, balancing content moderation against user backlash and free speech concerns. The platform response demonstrates the role of digital intermediaries in moderating extreme content, particularly in politically sensitive context. Another dark dimension of the aftermath involved vigilante actions and doxing. Rogue websites and anonymous actors collected and published identifying information of individuals celebrating the assassination. Those targeted frequently reported harassment, threats, and safety concerns, sometimes prompting law enforcement involvement. As Wired reports, doxing creates a dangerous feedback loop. Public exposure, threats, potential retaliation, and further public scrutiny. But folks, I'm going to have to break script here, because I think that's what's wrong right now here in America and the world at large. I think we need to bring back shaming, public scrutiny, and potential retaliation for such horrendous behavior. But that's just my humble opinion. Where celebratory acts intersected with criminal behavior, law enforcement acted. Disorderly conduct, assault, vandalism, arrests were made at vigils or memorials such as Texas Tech and Phoenix. These actions were not prosecutions for celebratory speech per se, but for tangible criminal conduct arising from the charged environment. Legal consequences highlight that freedom of speech has limits, especially when actions escalate into harm or public disorder. Across multiple sectors, corporate, educational, media, and nonprofit, suspensions or firings were immediate. This reflects both the seriousness of celebrating an assassination and the speed at which public outrage can influence institutional decisions. The Pentagon and state education agencies launched formal reviews. Universities conducted internal investigations. Consequences can include administrative penalties beyond employment, such as military reprimands, certification loss, or referral to law enforcement. Digital platforms acted quickly to remove videos and ban accounts, prioritizing public safety and content moderation. These actions also shaped the broader narrative, limiting the visibility of celebratory posts while drawing scrutiny about censorship and free speech boundaries. Individuals identified by crowdsourced sites faced harassment and death threats, creating real-world risk. This phenomenon illustrates the intersection of social media activism, vigilantism, and personal safety. When celebratory behavior escalated into assault, vandalism, or threats, arrest followed. These cases demonstrate how law enforcement distinguishes between offensive speech and criminal acts. High-profile statements from governors, senators, and company leaders accelerated institutional responses, highlighting how political and public pressure influences accountability in real time. Civil liberties advocates argue that some employer or administrative actions risk chilling speech. Others counter that celebrating an assassination crosses a moral and professional line. This debate remains active in op-eds and commentary. The aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination shows the power and peril of public expression in the digital age. From corporate employees to educators, military personnel, students, and private citizens, those who celebrated the killing faced consequences ranging from employment termination to legal action, platform bans, and harassment. This tragic event also eliminates broader societal dynamics. Rapid institutional response signals that celebrating violence is incompatible with professional and civic standards, as should be. Digital amplification accelerates both condemnation and unintended consequences, such as doxing and threats. Legal boundaries exist where celebratory acts intersect with criminal conduct, particularly public disruption or assault. Debates over free speech and accountability remain unresolved, highlighting the tension between personal expression and collective societal norms. Ultimately, this story is a case study in how society responds to outrage, moral transgression, and digital age behavior, reflecting both the power of accountability and the challenges of moderation in a hyper-connected world. Stay tuned as we get back on track and talk about what all of this means for us as believers and how Yeshua calls us to act during these dark times.
Hey friends, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap that little bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Wanna go the extra mile? Share this with someone who might need it. And if you'd like to help support the channel, check out the links in the description. You can become a member, grab some merch, or just say hi. Every little bit helps keep this thing rolling. Thanks for being here. You rock!
What a season we are living through right now. You don't need me to tell you that the world feels like it's boiling over with violence, anger, and division. Every time we check the headlines, there's another story that shakes us. The Catholic school shooting that took innocent lives, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, the brutal stabbing of that young Ukrainian woman on a bus that left her bleeding out while strangers stood by frozen. And of course, the most recent event of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Each one of these stories stings, not just because of the loss of life, but because of what they reveal about the state of the human heart. There is a callousness, a hardness that seems to be growing across society today. And I'll be real with you, friends. It's exhausting. It feels like we're pedaling uphill on a steep trail, our legs burning, lungs on fire, wondering if we'll ever catch a break. But here's the thing. Yeshua didn't tell us the road would be easy. He told us to watch and pray. He told us to stay awake, not woke, Stay ready. Stay rooted in Him while the world spins itself into chaos. Now let's talk about the connections between these events for a moment. Violence isn't new, but the speed at which it's multiplying and the coldness with which people respond to it, that's the part that makes you stop and say, what's going on here? People don't just hurt each other. They celebrate it, mock it, and share it online for clout. That's not just darkness. That's the kind of evil Paul was talking about when he said, our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, authorities, powers of this dark world, and spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. That's Ephesians 6 and 12. As believers, we need to be clear-eyed about this. The rise of evil is real. The violence isn't random. It's targeted more and more towards people of faith, towards conservatives, towards those who still hold onto God's ways. And yet, here's the tension. We are not called to live in fear. We are not called to lash out with hate or answer bloodshed with bloodshed. Yeshua himself told us to love our enemies and pray for those who persecute us. Matthew 5:44. That doesn't mean we lay down in the dirt and let ourselves be trampled. It means we rise above the darkness without letting it turn us into what we're fighting against. So practically, what does this look like for us as believers? Well, let's borrow a biking picture here. Riding through a rough trail, you've got to stay balanced. If you lean too far one way, you crash into the ditch. Too far the other way, you'll wipe out on the rocks. Spiritually, it's the same. On one side, we could lean into fear, lock ourselves away, distrust everyone, basically stop living. On the other, we could lean into rage, let anger consume us, retaliate with hate, or even violence. Both sides will land us flat on the ground. But the path Yeshua calls us to is straight and narrow. Be alert, be watchful, yes. Take precautions, and defend yourself and others if necessary. But do it without losing love, without losing the hope we carry in Him. And here's where we find encouragement. God is still in control. He hasn't been dethroned by chaos, by politics, or by violence. They've already tried that once. Psalm 46 reminds us that God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear. Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, we will not fear. That's powerful. Even if the whole world crumbles, God remains. At the same time, Galatians 6 and 9 tells us, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And I get it. It's tempting to grow weary when everywhere you look is bloodshed and division. But friends, that's exactly when we dig deeper, when we keep pedaling forward, trusting that God sees, God knows, and God will bring justice in His time. Now let me say something directly about division. America is split like never before, left versus right, Believers versus skeptics, race against race, neighbor against neighbor. It feels like every issue is a battlefield. And honestly, the enemy loves that. Because the divided people are an easier people to destroy. But in the kingdom of God, we're called to unity. Galatians 3:28 says it clearly. There's neither Jew nor Gentile, slave nor free, male nor female, for you are all one in Messiah, Yeshua. That's where our identity lies as believers. Not in the labels the world throws around, not in the political team we're on, but in Him. So, what's the takeaway here? Don't live in fear. Don't give in to hate. But also, don't be naive. Evil is rising. The Bible warned us it would. So yes, lock your doors. Train yourself to be ready. Arm yourself if necessary. Watch out for one another. Be wise as serpents, but innocent as doves. And above all, remember that our hope, our healing, our only remedy is Yeshua. Guns, politics, movements, they won't fix the human heart. Only He can. Believers are called to rise above the world's division and unite as believers. Here's some practical steps for believers in these divided times. Pause before reacting. In social media storms, take a breath. Think about your words. Will they heal or hurt? And trust me, I've had to put that one into practice quite a bit while recording this here podcast. Pray for those who offend or oppose you, not just the perpetrators of violence, but anyone whose words or actions stir anger in you. Pray for them. And keep yourself anchored in Scripture. Read your Bible. Let God's truths guide your perspective, not the latest viral outrage. And as hard as it is in times like this, engage in acts of good. Donate, volunteer, or support those that are affected. Let love be your response. And whether it be online or in real life, encourage community. Walk or ride alongside other believers, sharing hope, not fear. Friends, these are heavy times, no doubt about it. But let me leave you with this. Imagine we're all riding together on this long, tough climb. Our legs hurt, the hill seems endless, and every turn reveals another steep grade. Alone, you'd probably quit. But together, encouraging one another, reminding each other of the goal, we can keep going. That's what being a believer is about right now. We're not called to pedal this trail alone. We're called to ride together, to watch and pray, and to protect each other. And most importantly, to keep our eyes fixed on Yeshua, the one waiting at the finish line. So don't let the darkness steal your joy. Don't let the fear chain you, and don't let anger poison your heart. Instead, stay grounded, stay watchful, stay united with other believers, and let the love of Yeshua shine brighter than the chaos. Let us, as believers, be a light in this dark, dark world. And for everyone out there, in parting, I'd like to remind you that the power of life and death lays within the tongue. And that sword slices both ways, folks. Stay strong, keep riding, and never forget, in Him, we've already won. Thank you for joining me here today, my friends and family, as this old man just babbles on in Babylon. But until next time, Abba willing, Shalom, Shalom.